at is when they have, so with Chelsea, what they're good at is when they have 3 people back, Chelsea's pretty good, right? Like, because in my mind, this is the way I think about Chelsea's defensive line. The first guy's going to go on the run. The second guy's going to whiff on the cross, but the third guy's going to get it, right? The third guy and the goalie. So to me, whenever I see just 2 people back for Chelsea, I start to panic because in my mind, it's like it's an automatic goal because one of the center backs is going to whiff. Like Rudiger is going to come in with a karate kick and he's going to whiff. And the goalie's going to think he's going to clear it unless it's Peppa, which then I'm like, okay, right? Like we got a chance. Ceballos was in goal for Chelsea today. He was very active as well, which I love. I don't, especially at Chelsea, if you're the goalie, you have to play an aggressive goal there. And anything that comes to the box, you have to take because, like I said, Rudiger is, I don't know what happened to my man this season. He did score a goal today. I think that's what it is. He's just trying to get to the front. He wants, and what makes me so mad with Chelsea with that is like you would swear they don't have size in the front, right? Like, so to me, what cracks me up is like Jerell is what, 6'2", Marcus Alonso's another 6'2", 6'3". Why is Rudiger getting his ball? Like, we don't need you there. Go. Like, we don't need you there.
Well, that's going to be interesting, and that's why I still feel that hesitancy about, and maybe Frank has been stern about that overall, but I just feel that there's still things that whether he is going to get better center backs or.
Oh no, I think they clearly know that they need to solidify that back line. I think they clearly know. I mean, just from the way that they played today, right? I think what Chelsea realizes is they need to maintain possession and they need to be coming forward. And when they're not coming forward, there are clear people who know that they're responsible for getting back. I think what they were good at today in particular, he doesn't have his name, his Williams, they just kept saying, switching between James and Williams, so I don't know if it's William James or James Williams. But I know who it is. I can see his face. I've seen him play before. It's one of those things where ESPN is going off of their telecast and saying his name a different way from how I hear him called.
I will correct you real quick, Jam, on that. They did use the official, that was the global broadcasters, Stuart Robinson, in the very polarizing Jonathan Pierce. But that was Robbo.
Yeah.
That was Stuart Robbo. That was the official global class instead of just the
I think they did it well, but I'm used to hearing certain players' names on the NBC telecast, and I know, like, I'll hear them say, like, if Manchester United is playing, I hear them say James, I know who they're talking about. When they were talking about him, I'm like, I know his face. I just never heard him called by their name. So I'm like, I don't. And then they called him by the name that I used to hearing him, and I was like, oh, that's who that is. And then there was another play, because there were moments in the game, because he played the whole game. He played right back the entire game. And I was like, at one point he looked really tired, but then he did an excellent job of understanding when to go forward and getting back.
Yes.
And when he was going back, the difference between what I was talking about with Guendouzi and him is Guendouzi, when he's getting back, he doesn't prioritize stopping the ball in the midfield. He prioritizes just getting back, right? Where, can't remember if it's William James or James Williams.
I'll tell you right now. I think it was William James. Let me tell you right now. Keep on going.
And he did a great job of understanding, I don't need to get all the way back. We have 3 back. I can play in this midfield, disrupt this run or disrupt the buildup, and then get back and be responsible. It was that's where I saw Frank's value.
Are you talking about Reece James? Or?
Reece James. See, I'm used to him being, and they kept calling Williams. I'm telling you, someone called him Williams, and I was like, who is this?
They were mixing him up with Brandon Williams of United, because Brandon Williams was the only player.
Okay, I was so confused because they kept saying it, and they were like, I'm like, what? Who are they talking about? I don't know Williams James. I know that guy. I don't know. So I was very confused. And the thing about it is, one of them is black with dreads, and the other one is white with a fade. So I don't know how the announcers can.
And both of them are teenagers too, and really good teenagers.
Right.
When Reece James, sorry, I made a mistake. He just turned 20 last December, and Brandon Williams, Lord United, 19. He's gonna be 20 on September 3rd. You know.
So Reece James, he was excellent today. He was like, he understood perfectly. Like I said, disrupting. He also showed tremendous pace on his overlapping runs. Who played right mid for Chelsea today? Was it Willian? There was a point where Willian was in, and it was he looked good. I think he was more forward though.
It was Kovacic got the start, but he doesn't play.
Kovacic was terrible. He wasn't terrible.
Mason Mount, let's just say Mateo Kovacic's career has been ruined. I'll get into that in a second.
I'm not a big fan of Kovacic. That's the reason I tried to take it back. I'm just not a huge Kovacic fan. Yeah. I think there are a lot more talented people who do. He doesn't do any. My problem is currently with Chelsea, you have too many people. So like Mason Mount is good at going forward, right? So if Kovacic understand that, then you play a little bit more defensively responsible, and then you can come forward once your defensive assignment. My issue with Chelsea is like there's too many times where it's unanimous, like both guys, everyone is back. And it's like, well, someone needs to possess and get forward, right? And I think that's
so you think the problem is more of that than sometimes they're too back, you think, than going from what you've seen this season?
I think part of them being too back is that. I think that's what killed Tammy. When Tammy Abraham was up front, I think that's what really killed his shine. It was like like Jorginho is all the way in the defensive. Like, who are you covering?
Jerell.
It's literally Tammy against three people. It's the defensive midfielder and the two center backs he's taking on. Like, you need to help out and try to get some type of possession. Today, and they've been a lot better about those responsibilities. I don't know what it is about what Frank is doing. I don't know if Frank is telling them they can, moving forward in a productive way. I don't know what it was, but they've been able to do it piecemeal, where what they did today, and that's what I saw happening, was I saw that United wasn't going to be able to capitalize on their mistakes. Because even though they had the Sheffield United lapse, I think, and before that, multiple other lapses where they let people into games. They looked a lot like Arsenal lately. And not Arsenal lately, like Arsenal mid-season Arsenal. But I think what I think they've been doing before that, though, what they were able to do, especially in big competition, is they've come up with a consistent game plan that allows them to remain in the game by being a little bit more consistent. And that's what I saw them doing. They did that a lot today. They were a lot more consistent. A lot of – go ahead.
Yeah, but no, you're right about that. And it's something where even with United having their guys come off the bench, it's still something where I just expected that they would at least score 2 goals today, and that didn't happen.
Similar to what I was telling you before we even started, it was like between minutes 60 and 75, what really killed them was the second goal that they had let in. Because after that, it looked like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was like, okay, right? We're bringing in Pogba, we're bringing in Martial, we're going to put the effort forth, right? We're opening up, what is my man's name? He plays right back for them. I love him. He has excellent passes. He's really young.
In terms of Wan-Bissaka, Fosu-Mensah for United.
Say the name again.
Wan-Bissaka, Fosu-Mensah.
Wan-Bissaka.
Yes.
I love his game.
James, that's something where Liverpool fans, and it's why tomorrow you need to be on. They can't stand the debate of people that say, Wan-Bissaka is actually better than Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's more defensive. He actually does what a right back's supposed to do. as far as defending and whatnot, which he's more advanced, he's older and whatnot. But that's some trolling, and just can't stand Jerell and Arnold because the Manchester United
honestly,
rivalry is the greatest rivalry to me in sports overall. I gotta tell you that.
I think those two are close. Like I was telling you, I love Trent Alexander-Arnold too. I think if anyone's, I was telling you before, if anyone's new to soccer or new to football, he's one of the few players I would say, like, you want to see some amazing, like, why this sport is amazing. Mm-hmm. This dude
he's boxing.
Right. He is passing the ball like Patrick Mahomes on the run, except he's using his foot. Right? Like, it's amazing. It's very impressive how he's able to cross the ball. And not only that, there's some people he passes the ball to, both of them, pass the ball to some people who have terrible first touches, right? I'm not going to say any names. And it's just like their ball magically, like, it's like amazing.
Are you going to say Divock Origi for Trinidad and Arnold? Well, it's going to have to be Jerell got to be in the
I'm not going to say any names. I'm just saying.
I like Divock.
There's some people.
But it is what it is sometimes. I keep it 1,000.
Even my boy Mane, there's some times where I'm like, he used to be the king of the rough touch for me. Like, Mane, to me, was always like a 20-goal scorer. But before they got these talented passers that Klopp gave him, he used to be the king of the rough touch. Or the too long poke, like the poke to chase and the flick on. His flick would be like 20. I'm like, what are you doing? You're outpacing the guy. It just needs to be small. A little touch, Mane, a little touch. Well, anyways, but
that's funny to say that right there, man.
But he is amazing. Like, in the games that I've been able to see him play, a little bit more forward-facing, which is what I think makes him a little bit more. He would fit the scheme that Manchester United wants to do. I think there is something in the fact that can't pronounce homeboy's name. Wan-Bissaka. He can get forward more than he thinks he can. His overlapping runs, I would have liked to see more from him today with that, especially because his crossing in the late third is so good. It is so. I forget who was. I mean, without Pogba playing in front of him, I would trust him more than Bruno Fernandes at times to get, especially when Bruno Fernandes is not winning the ball. I think that was the other big thing today too, was Mason Mount. They jacked up Bruno Fernandes every time he had the ball in the midfield. They jacked him up. It was like,
I tell you, that's the second few games that Bruno Fernandes hasn't played well. Well, he definitely needs a rest for sure, because he's been at the center of United, with me saying #United is back, even though I say that, in terms of, I'm not even trolling Liverpool fans, with my, let's just say, and this is why she's not in the line sheet, she should be or whatever, but tomorrow, whatever, she was, as I mentioned earlier, she was like, now do you admit that United is not back? Because she went and trolled me after Southampton, after they drew Southampton, which again was like questionable little mistakes from De Gea and overall of how they were able to give up that point, and to give up those 2 points there. But United had been the best team in the restart. But the thing that United that concerns me and whatnot still is that I feel that they need to, and this is why we mentioned this yesterday with Chris Smalling, I think should be the pairing with Harry Maguire and as their center back pairing instead of Victor Lindelof, because Victor Lindelof was responsible just as much for the first goal, if not more, than there, because he was busy, as we talk about all the time, how American coaches could be smart if they utilize American football and understand that we have a systematic advantage of this in terms of literally know how to man mark a guy. Like, literally just not looking at the ball. Just look at the guy. And this is why I say, whenever people deal with Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, it's why I love Messi all the way. I'm like, a lot of these Europeans overall do not understand the concept of just man marking a guy. In terms of, like, do not look at the ball. Look at the guy, whatever, specifically the 90 minutes or whatever, and don't worry about passing him off, because then you're going to get space, So
I'm not going to go. What I like to do when I was playing my little soccer league, and I used to play center back because I wasn't in good shape. The reason what I used to do, and one of the guys who
You say you were in Aquafina. You know the big striker. Let me get him overall.
Oh,
You will go.
no, I was not. He's in good. That dude's in good shape. He can at least. He could at least stay in his third and make run. All I could do is I'll just foot race with everybody.
Woo. This man he's 38. No, I wanted to make the Premier League. Marcelo Bielsa, sign him. Sign him, Marcelo Bielsa. Please.
No, they ain't gonna make the Prem. They in the championship. That's good enough. You got ESPN Plus now. You can watch them every Saturday.
I can watch them every Saturday and then be like, well, Marcel Bielsa's out the league now, so there's no need for me to watch it anymore.
Because I'm gonna watch. He's gonna be must-see TV. My thing is what I used to try to explain to everyone. Because one of the guys told me, he's like, it's like basketball. He was trying to tell me that when you're defending, it's like basketball. And I tried to explain to him, when you play basketball and you got a 2-on-1 situation, you don't give up the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But
play right middle.
When you have a 2-on-1 situation, you got a goalie, you can literally just sit in the passing lane because they're either going to shoot because the goalie's cutting off that angle or he's going to pass. So he has two options, right? It's like playing a 2-on-1 fast break.
Yeah.
Right? You give up the guaranteed layup to get up the passing lane. Because if you don't give that, you're going to be on a poster, right? Like if you go to try to defend the ball 100%, he's going to pass it and you're going to end up getting someone dunking on your head. So you play the passing lane, you give up the layup, and you try to use the hoop as the guard. And that's what I was trying to explain. I'm like, I'm shepherding him to an angle. My goalie needs to sit at that angle, and then I'm cutting off the passing lane. Mm-hmm. So what gets me frustrated with, like you were saying today, with the first goal, it was like the only option.
Well, not frustrated for you, a Chelsea fan, obviously, but as like a neutral, like coach and
yeah, as an observer, it was silly to me because I was watching. I was like, the only way Chelsea can score in this situation. First of all, people sleep on Azpilicueta's crossing all the time. Okay, it's not great. It's not great, but there are several times, especially if he's one-on-one and the guy's like 5 yards off, and he can concentrate on that bad boy. He can get some sidewinders. He can get some stuff in there. So as soon as I saw it was him, and I saw that. I think it might have been a midfielder who was on him. Didn't close. I was like, oh, they don't know that he can actually get this ball in. And then, so it was funny because my mind was thinking that. As for Quentin's mind, you could see it was kind of happening. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, so all United needs to do is stop this run from Jerell that's about to happen. And as soon as I said they need to stop it, he was late coming. And I was like, how did you not know that run? It was literally Azpilicueta and Jerell were like the only ones playing. He makes the run. It gets curled in. He gets his boot on it somehow, and then De Gea.
Yeah, and that's why I just feel that for United, I just feel that the one thing that would stop them, I just don't feel confident in Lindelof. As to me, if they were to face them, I still feel Van Dijk and Gomez are a tier above the rest of the league as a partnership. And I think United, that's something where I think they really have to say themselves, you know what? Roma wants Chris Smalling. He had a fantastic season. Now he can be with Harry Maguire and all that and pair himself up. And maybe they could have the chemistry, whatever. But, but it's going to be hard because, that chemistry is important for center backs now. And Van Dijk and Gomez built that up. Then you're stuck with Lindelof where it's like, well, we wanted Lindelof, Maguire to keep on building that chemistry for the money we paid them. So I just think that that's the thing that they're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to really have to think about, not only these last two games in the Europa League, but into the summer with that on them. And then David De Gea just has to really get his act together sometimes. Or they'll be looking around and say, you know what, we need to maybe think about Jan Oblak and really give him this competition or whatever, because the game just really went down to how he just was not at all near what he should be doing or whatever. Because if he stops even one of those, the Mason Mount goal, he stops that, who knows what happens in the second half. So I mean, it was certainly interesting. All I know is that I'm glad that at least I did not want the split of one Manchester club and one London club, whatever. I didn't want that. No, hell no. I wanted either both Manchester clubs or both London clubs or whatnot, and it's fitting that it's both London clubs or whatever for a final to see who's going to get the trophy and who's going to annoy each other on Twitter. Because there are these things. If people thought NBA Twitter was live, it had nothing on Elite Soccer Twitter because it is far one for the cause. So we're going to transition now to La Liga for people so you won't see that we are only English-centric overall, but we cover them all, not people. We cover them all, whatever. Even if it's the K-League that's back, we will cover the K-League too, whatever. The AFC's third best league overall in the AFC region. I would say the K-League, even though fourth actually, I would say.
I was gonna say I need to start watching my K-League again.
Well, I mean the J-League and the CSL, the Chinese Super League. Let's just say it's just that round.
Oh gosh.
Well,
with the most random superstars you'll ever see.
That's right, Marko Arnautovic, Oscar, Hulk. Oh, you gotta love the Chinese Super League and all the money that they're getting. So,
is the J League still playing on AstroTurf?
I gotta actually see. It seems
like I gotta look into that. But continue with La Liga with that disappointment of a game. Well,
we will mention Leganés all the way. We could mention the pain that they suffered as they joined Mallorca and Espanyol down to Liga Smart Bank because La Liga is owned by Santander, and that Smart Bank is part of the things and whatnot. So corporate sponsors, even though that y'all should pay us a check or whatever. But I do, first, I've always will say that I do love a league that globally calls itself literally the league. I mean, Premier League, that's that. So that's why they always felt their way about, superiority and everything and whatnot, even towards 2000s and Rafa Benitez, Winston, all that stuff and everything. But our focus was first centered around either we go with Gareth Bale or Lionel Messi, because you know what, we're gonna get in Gareth Bale. We're gonna definitely get into Gareth Bale for sure. But my thing with that is in terms of Lionel Messi today, Barcelona, after their ridiculous result the other night or whatnot to Osasuna, whatnot, which it wouldn't matter because Real Madrid didn't win the game, so they already clinched the title, but they could have put pressure on, Barcelona could put pressure on them, and they just fell apart, with a poor performance against Osasuna, and the title was decided that night to Real Madrid. That today, against the Alaves team that just got safety, but on a Thursday, so they're like, oh, we good, we safe, whatever, and they didn't show up, and they got trounced by 5-0. I think the final score was. Lionel Messi, 2 goals today, ended up Pichichi, first player 2020, in La Liga, 7th straight year of winning the Pichichi Award. I mean, it's just obscene or whatnot, how incredible this talent this man is overall. Or they 7 overall in the 4th straight year he won it actually. But he's won 7 Pichichis overall. And he actually looked happy because Roger Puig was very good. Ansu Fati, 17-year-old, and 7 goals on the season. I mean, if he was up probably another sort of color or whatever, he probably would be getting global appeal all the way. But man, no, I take that back. Mason Gary was getting global appeal, but at least in Spain, I think he would get even more appeal, whatever. If it was like, hey, Lionel Messi got that appeal, and Ansu Fati scoring the goals that even Lionel Messi didn't or whatever at that age. So it's something where it's still going to be interesting that I still have to say today would have pushed me on the side of him definitely staying. But there are rumors that they may fire the manager that they literally just for I mean, come on. Like, what do you expect the man to do? And then they have Napoli in the Champions League. And I just think that it still can get a little dicey for Barcelona, hoping that Lionel Messi stays. And people sort of obviously said, oh, he's going to stay or whatever and all this stuff like that. Regardless of what it is that it's just something where I just feel that he just is like, if they change the coach, he's gonna be like, you know what, time to go to Manchester City. Do you have any thoughts on that, good sir? If any, for your
I think it's so funny to me, like I saw earlier today, Watford fired their coach. That the decision is that the issue is the coach, not the team. Mind you, Barcelona coming into after the COVID break, what were they up? 6 points or 4 points?
They were up 4, and then they were actually up by 1. They were just up by 1 before the resumption. So they had it out. It's that league. But still,
they were still. I remember looking in early March, and they were up by a good amount. Like it was like they were leading. It wasn't super comfortable, but they had a lot of. It was going to play out towards the end of the season.
Yeah, it was 4-6 back
then. And I was just trying to figure out. So when I heard Real, I saw Barcelona have their couple of bad losses. I was like, oh. And then I heard Messi's not happy. I said, oh. And Pep is over there sitting there. Oh, we about to win this case?
And Mansour has been plotting it all the way. They've been plotting it for a while.
And we're going to take Leroy Sané, who does not know what he wants to do with the rest of his life. And he's going to go. And who needs a 3-headed monster when we're about to bring Lionel Messi to come here and do what he did, make Virgil look like Boateng in the Champions League final.
Don't do Jerell Boateng like that. I mean, he still despite all the titles and success at Bayern, he still can't live that one down. He still gets nightmares about that.
That is, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, if you've seen Brandon Knight, I tell people the most nasty dunk, even better than the Sean Kemp dunks of the 90s that I've ever seen in my time, was the day that DeAndre Jordan
Brandon Knight
killed Brandon Knight. He murdered him.
Let's show up to the people, because we can show that and not get copyright, thankfully. We can show that and not get copyright. Thank the Lord.
I've never seen anything like that happen to a human being. To this day, I still don't know how Brandon Knight started vertical and ended horizontal.
So can you laugh.
There are so many things. And the Boateng, let me not say the Boateng, it's big like that because it was that crazy, but it's closer to Allen Iverson, Tyronn Lue in the 2001 NBA Finals. Yes, that's what it's closer to.
Gotta get things going.
It's closer to that.
And gets the ball inbounds, credit to Liberty. Might have drawn up his best play of the night.
There it is, James.
I had to stop.
Oh, my Lord. It's just so mean. It's just so...
Chris Paul's play, even, that's what makes it funny to me. It's like even the people who play basketball professionally are like dumbfounded about what happened. Chris Paul's face is like, what? Look at DeAndre.
Great difference, like, he committed a crime. Like, why did he do that, DeAndre?
It's like, what just happened? How did this man started vertical and ended on his back? How did that happen?
Oh, God.
Like, Chris Paul doesn't know what to do himself. He's like, what? Whoa, you just killed a person. You just killed a man.
Lord, why did they? And then he made the free throw.
He makes the free throw.
He made the free throw too. Oh my gosh, Brandon Knight. Why did he go do that to him? Oh my Lord. Oh my goodness. Well, let's go to that moment because we can actually show that even messy moment. Well, look, I'm not even gonna even risk it. Honestly, I don't want this class.
That was great. Don't risk that one. So yeah, if you can, if people are listening, go to YouTube and find that highlight.
They've seen it. They know it. They know it.
It is devastating. And yeah, I don't think this is going to be enough. Similar to what we were talking about yesterday. Suarez is looking really old.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is.
The midfield behind Messi is not doing as much as what they can do. He's having to do a lot more work, especially when they're playing. They're definitely not going to be able to win Champions League. I don't think Madrid, especially without using Real, I should say, without using Gareth Bale as much as they could. I thought this was their year. I thought this was like Barcelona's year to win by like 6 points. 6 to 10 points. They should have won by. To me, they had a better team than Real Madrid did this season. And
I think they show how, especially the midfield, it really fell apart for them. And I just had to say, like, this club. I gotta give Gary Bailey credit on this one, because he was saying how Bartomeu, the president of Barcelona, before we move on to Gareth Bale, that he would have gotten, if it was in a regular era and fans were in the stands, they would have booed so much the other night or whatever that he would have had to be forced to resign, because he's in the chair for 2 more years because he got elected. So, like, that's what makes these clubs so fascinating and whatnot, is that he's definitely in chair for 2 more years, but the fans could have chorused him out and been like, hell no, whatever, and stuff like that. And the shareholders would have been like, man, they want you out, guy. Like, you need to think about this, whatever. All I have to say is that, I just would be shocked still if they fire a second manager who's actually tailor-made for the Barcelona style. And he says, even though they should have kept Valverde, but they hated his man. They would rather lose 3-2 and play great soccer, whatever, than win 1 or 2-0 or whatever, and be like, oh my goodness, Valverde, he's ruining us. He's ruining our identity. And all this nonsense and everything of like crazy irrational people when it comes to their soccer with that. And speaking of crazy,
because they gotta win in their style. I have a question though, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
Do you think the youth academy penalties and financial stuff that happened with Barcelona is really with the Neymar signing? I think it should be done either this year or this coming season. Do you think that's having an impact on what their ability as well, as they don't typically do what Real does and say, who's the new hotness coming out and let's just try to get them?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because their last of getting that young person or whatnot was after Neymar shot and left them, was getting Dembele, as we mentioned about it, and that really had just blown up in their face along with Coutinho, even though I thought that was the right move or whatever. But, as I mentioned, like, even with La Masia having not reduced, like, everybody, like, that's on popping, like Ansu Fati, Rui Puig or whatnot, it's something where they still have the ethos and they know the system of finding the right midfielders for their team. And they just haven't transitioned from Xavi in Iniesta's generation with Busquets getting older. And as I mentioned to you the other day, they had 2 people that was perfect for it, whether Thiago, they let him go to Bayern Munich, or Danny Ceballos.
They needed more midfielders.
Yes, Danny Ceballos was crying out for Barcelona. It was crying out for him. And all that happened was that he went to the rival club, Real Madrid, who didn't really need him. So it's like a thing where it's something that I think that, yes, maybe a little bit of the youth development slightly curtailed a bit. Shout out to Juan de la Fuente, this young American that is like really making some moves or whatever over there, 18, and who could back for next season or whatnot. But it's the thing that they still, from what they were before and how they got the club to be where they're at, I don't think that for me, they have invested in that midfield wisely beyond just like the whole youth development with that, And speaking of wisely or unwisely is with Real Madrid in the back of celebrating their title, because Barcelona and Real Madrid are just connected like that. We just have to connect them all the way together. Today is Leganes. They seem like they were trying to make sure the young players almost give it up to only for Leganes to not want to stay in Spain, in Spania's top flight. What's your own thoughts first on this thing where Gareth Bale, this guy, Zinedine Zidane, I joked about this the other day. And I said Matteo Maserati, that the one Maserati that Zidane headbutted or whatnot in the 06 World Cup final. He is more liked in Zidane's eyes than Gareth Bale.
I agree. I think um, it is no way to talk about. I don't think Gareth Bale has fallen that low. He's not that bad that he could not have had an impact on Real Madrid's team this season, especially with the absence of Cristiano Ronaldo now, um, and him being able to play that wing, play on the wing with Benzema. Not well. You know what I mean, so that people don't think I know what I'm talking about. But like, Benzema's central. He's on the left. That he can. There's no doubt to me, even with some of the young talent who Madrid has, even if you're trying to conceptually come up with new stuff, he's still one of the top 25 players in the world when he's in form, right? So I don't think that can be argued. I think he's definitely, like yesterday we were saying, I was saying he's not better than Ronaldo at this career point, but he's close, right? He's
he would be clearly,
he's very close. So that's not and to me that's not up for debate either. So I don't understand. Yeah, he has to not like him. I think that's the key thing. He has to. Zidane has to have something out for him. I don't know if he's trying to get his price to be lower. I don't know why he want his price to be lower. I don't know. But I don't know what he's thinking or going along those lines. I'd love to see Gareth Bale. I heard rumors of Gareth Bale going to MLS, and I'm like, MLS.
Okay, they need MLS. Stop that nonsense, please.
I was like, when I heard someone say that, I was like, Gareth Bale, they cannot afford Gareth Bale. I'd love to see Gareth Bale, who I would love to see Gareth Bale on is like a team like Wolves.
Wait.
I would love to see
Wolves.
I would love to see Bale on one side and Adama Traore on the other side. Woo! That was crazy.
So wait a minute. You wouldn't want to see him. Think about this, sir, as a extra squad player on Chelsea. As you want to see Pulisic and Bell streak up the whole sideline or whatever.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be great. I would love that too. I just don't. I like Chelsea's youth movement at the time. I think the thing with me with the Premier League right now is the Premier League has a lot. I was about to say Premier League has because that's my league. That's my jam. Anyways, but they have a lot of young talent and a lot of talent similar to like what we were talking about with Weston McKennie is a lot of talent because they're so physically gifted and not skillfully knowledgeable. They get placed at left back where they can just run up and down and then get the skills and then move towards central position of the talent in the Premier League right now. I'd love to see Hudson-Odoi. I love that Frank has Hudson-Odoi still fulfilling his defensive responsibilities, but then also coming forward and helping with it. I love that. And I think I don't want to see that development. I think Gale can enhance it. I would love for him to be on the team. But if they get him, they got to get rid of somebody like Jerell or someone.
Well, they was like, Pedro is probably.
Oh yeah, Pedro's gone. Pedro, when I saw Pedro, they brought in Pedro today, and I was like, dang, Pedro's the 10th, the now. Where he's the cigar. We're gonna waste time to get him to trot onto the field, and then he's gonna be defensively responsible. Even though when Pogba was pushing a lot, Pogba and Martial at the end of the game, and it wasn't Pogba and Martial, it was Pogba, Martial, and Greenwood were all just. Once Bruno Fernandes scored that first goal, which I was pissed that they allowed him to take it because homeboy had done nothing the entire game. So he did not deserve to have his name on the score line at all. They did, once they saw that first ball get in, they know what Chelsea is, and they knew that they were more talented. But the thing about it is Pedro, who I love to pieces, because he's just always there. He reminded me of like Fabregas when Fabregas was on Chelsea. And it was just like, you're always in the right time, right place at the right time. You're just always there. You're so comforting. So it was like that. It was like when Pedro came on, it was like, oh, he's the cigar. And then he had to like do work. And I was like, yeah, this is why I love you, Pedro. Pedro can go. Pedro's gone, but Pedro hasn't really.
Is he your second favorite Pedro of all time over Pedro Martinez, or is he number one Pedro of all time?
He's definitely not over Pedro Martinez. Pedro Martinez is the greatest pitcher I've ever seen pitch with my entire eyes.
And that's the thing. We can have that as another separate thing for sure. Because one person asked me, a father, or a good friend or whatever, asked me last night what my top 10 pitchers were. Sorry, people, soccer champ, but we love to mix this up, whatever, because then this leads us to saying how Messi is a GOAT, and all you Portuguese Cristiano fans, I can understand it, but it's always nonsense for you as well, too, or whatnot. But I still contend me that, I mean, Pedro Martinez, like, now, whatever. I mean, you can talk about Nolan Ryan, Pedro Martinez, Bob Gibson. They stand the test on everyone else.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do believe that with how great, amazingly great, Eddy or whatnot, or what was the nickname they gave Pedro? Did they give Pedro a nickname specifically?
No, it was just Pedro.
Yeah, just Pedro. Yeah, it was or whatever. It was. The Yankees would have gave him a nickname. He came to the Bronx overall. Him and David Ortiz. We would have won 20 straight titles.
Me and my dad were talking about our best pitchers of all time. And we both had Pedro because he said he never sees Sandy Koufax pitch.
Yeah.
And I was telling him, I was like, I've never seen Bob Gibson or Sandy Koufax. I've heard both of them were phenomenal. I have Bob Gibson up there because anyone who gets people to change rules has to be amazing.
That's right. Well, shout out to you, Wilt Chamberlain, and shout out to you. Let's see. What's up, Lindo? Up in the live stream here on Instagram here for the American.
So anyone who does that is amazing to me. So yeah, that's why Pedro, he's our number one in this house. To see him pitch live was amazing. And when I was a kid in 98, 99, just to put a bow on that, every time Pedro pitched for those seasons, it was the chance, not that he would win, it was a chance to watch a no-hitter or a perfect game.
Yep.
I've never seen a pitcher pitch like that. I've never had any experience like that in my life where every time you saw that dude pitch live, there was a chance you making. Yeah, I would love to see Gareth Bale with Chelsea. I think he might go to someone like Spurs. I think he'd be useless at Spurs, to be quite honest. I don't think
that would be interesting though if he did go back to Spurs because Kane is still there. Mourinho likes him. He's the perfect counterattack player for Mourinho overall. That would be interesting. I think honestly he would do well if they said themselves and United said, you know what, we're gonna, instead of pay Jadon Sancho all this money, we're gonna go all the way back and we're gonna say ourselves, we're gonna get Dembele and we're gonna get Gareth Bale, and we're gonna do that for less of the price than paying Jadon Sancho. I think that would be like a winning move overall. And I think that would be a way where he can stick it to Zidane and be able to just be like, hey, if I'm able to stay healthy, I'm in this age, but I don't have to be reliable every game. I'm back at a super club getting his wages, and I'm playing. I don't have a manager that's like just irrationally hating me because I'm Welsh, because it's just a weird thing. This is why David Beckham is just like got to be the greatest guy in the world. But he's the only, in terms of how Real Madrid treated Michael Owen. And then treated, I mean, it's just like Michael Owen. All he just did was a crime or just score goals and get injured. I mean, it was like he was an insult to be at that club when Michael Owen really was like when Michael Owen was in his prime, he arguably was like a right for the Messi.
Prime. He was a beast. At
18, he only Ronaldo was a better for in that debacle of a World Cup for our country overall. It's just what it is and everything. So we didn't even get a chance to discuss like the legitimate title race in Serie A, and we're gonna do that overall where our people on Instagram they're going to have to go away because there's always a 60-minute time limit on non-verified accounts on Instagram. So they have to go away if they're watching on Instagram live at the moment overall. So they got 15 seconds before they roll out. So now, anyway, and you'll have to just catch the full episode on YouTube. So now, the thing that, I will say to you, sir, is that I think overall, I think definitely that there's a case, and I don't know if you had a chance to watch any Serie A lately, thanks to, even though you have ESPN Plus, but there's a lot of things vying for our attention. It's like choosing to watch the SEC over the Pac-12. Like, it's just what it is or whatever or whatnot.
Yeah.
I feel, and I see the results from today or whatnot, but Juventus, they could be in trouble because their squad is old, playing all these matches back to back.
The Serie A schedule has not been friendly to them. And they have too many people. I love Paulo Dybala. I think he's absolutely amazing. I think we were talking about this before as well. Juventus has a little bit of burn in them in that they have a lot of people who play the same positions and don't get to maximize their skill set. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happens with Juventus a lot. They got a lot of people who can't maximize what they need to do.
Yeah, but you know what? Now, I say that or whatever, and Juventus, they didn't even play today. And they basically got a gift today where they, Roma, in a big time flash, got the highlights overall there. People can see it whenever they want to see it. But, 2-2, I mean.
2-2, they drew it Inter today, right?
They drew it Inter at Rome in the Olympico, and Lukaku had to save it where they would have lost Inter and blew it or whatever, and they got the point at least. So, but it's something where you can't just drop points or whatnot when you have the momentum that you have and you're coming up on Juventus because they passed Atlanta. Atlanta, like, literally still has a chance at the title in Serie A overall. But again, they didn't get, in terms of their results today, or at least in this match day round, they, yesterday, devastating result for them. They only got a point. So Juventus got a big break over the last 2 days where even if they use the Lazio tomorrow, then it's just something where, and I'm going to see, by the way, if that match is on ESPN tomorrow. I'm going to see right now because it's the only match from the Serie A. Oh, tomorrow.
It might be.
Because it would make sense for them to put that on there. Because if not, then I don't know what y'all doing with y'all brands with Serie A. I really don't know. Yeah.
I think for those teams, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So like Atalanta, it's going to be a lot more difficult without the crowd. I think those teams get spurred on a lot by their supporters. Mm-hmm. And the bigger clubs from a professional advantage are able to, put it together and understand what needs to happen. And that's what scares. That's why I'm not really terrified for Juventus. Is I think some of the teams that don't have as much talent without the crowd noise, they're going to need some professional players. Kind of like when AC Milan came back against them. You know what I mean? AC Milan has a lot of professional, like, all right, let's go to the locker room. We're going to turn this around. We're still in this. They could see a tremble in a center backs. In a center back. You know what I mean? They could see, like, I made a run on this dude last time. And when I made a run on him, he was diving all over the place. I just missed the finish. I just did not have the composure for the finish. Do it again, right? Yeah. I think with those younger teams who can be more upset-minded in Serie A, without having those supporters, it reminds me a lot of the Bundesliga. Like, we knew the Bundesliga was over without the supporters in the stands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is
they
true.
Just carry you.
That is true, good sir. And one more note before we close out on this great first episode overall, great fishing first episode. I mean, yesterday would have been, but YouTube wants to be hating, the MCA wants to be hating. How do you feel about? Because I thought at first this was the teams like pumping up the crowd noise, whatever. Like I think they did it with the Bundesliga's return. But apparently, the Premier League, at least NBC Sports or whatnot, they make sure their broadcasts are just having sound with like artificial sound. And
Oh yeah,
I really, really, really just can't stand that, James. I really can't stand
yeah,
it.
I
really
agree with
love
you.
it. I love the
I
natural feel. I love the natural feel. Sorry, like
no, keep going. You're saying the same thing
I'm
about
preaching to the choir, and I'm preaching to the choir, sir. Like when their Classica, when Bayern and Dortmund played, it was such a surreal feeling with this massive game between like these two top 6-7 clubs in the world, really, and then also their Classica, and that was the real title, well, the title decided for what Dortmund had to win or whatever. And it was such a cool feeling to see kicking the ball, Bonzo Davies kicking the ball, the sound of the ball, just getting the great sound overall, Lewandowski kicking the ball. It was just really, in the seat, it was just like you're watching a training ground match, and it's not the first time, of course, Europe is done with closed doors. It's a regular occurrence for a lot of things when fans want to be racist or whatnot, or other factors. But
that's also true.
yeah.
Or when they call the owner SOB.
Yes, great point. I mean, the Bundesliga really pissed off a lot of fans with them having NFL, like, then this whole thing of, like, we're going to have censorship and not have this go down or whatever because we got too many investors, including rich investors, about it. And that was the whole thing of these centrist versus rational leftist policies overall, so like that debate in its own right. So yeah, man, that I just can't stand it. I really, really can't stand it. And then it makes me laugh that NBC says they give the audio they give you the non-sound version on NBC Soccer. Like, give me that right damn there on the main time.
That's what gets me that's what my biggest frustration with it is they put the one that you want behind a paywall, right? Like, shouldn't I have to pay for sound, right? Like, since you're doing more work, shouldn't I have to pay you for the work that you're putting in, right? Like, that's the way I think about it. Similar to what you just were saying, Andrew, I think especially in these times, my big thing has been working on myself personally and trying to envision what I want to do and trying to make the best of a situation. We all should be staying at home to be as safe as possible.
Yes, we should.
What I've been thinking is, right, like us as human beings, the reason we've been able to progress is because whenever we've been able to adapt. What has gotten me frustrated is the very linear way of thinking about this crowd sound situation. Instead of them saying, hey, this is an opportunity. I mean, granted, this is actually keeping someone employed, but what I'm also going to say is, like, instead of them saying, like, hey, this is our opportunity to, like, we would want to mic all the players. We have all these boom mics on the ground, on the field, on the pitch. Let's enhance this. Let's turn this up.
Let's get
Americanize
it. Bring it over.
What I would do, Andrew? I would play it, and then I'd play it. I'd have a 5-second delay, and then I would let you have a TVMA version where you get to hear all of the sounds, and that just plays later. I would or put that behind a paywall. Honestly, I think, especially again, as you know who covers sports, right? And I know who works in sports and played, and both of us participate and played. You don't hear the crowd noise. Everyone keeps saying, oh, the crowd noise is, I'm like, it's not. It's really not. I was like, the crowd noise, you hear so much more when you're watching it than when you're on the field.
Yeah.
Like, when you're on the field or you're working, you don't hear it. You hear when someone says, like, something crazy and obscure. You'll hear that. But, like, when it's just, like, the chatter, like no one really hears that. And it's kind of, like, shocking when you go to, like, a high school game, or I wouldn't even say it's jarring when you're watching at home. Like, if most of your sports consumption is through television, then it's going to be jarring for you to go to, like, a high school game because you're hearing, like, people sitting on the bench. You're hearing the umpire clearly say strike. You're hearing the conversation between the catcher and umpire. Like, that is how you're familiar with sports. And I'm saying that when I interned at the institution that I interned at, it was jarring for me to watch sports on TV. Because I'm like, where is all this background noise coming from, right? I think they can explore more options. If we have this type of audio control, can I get audio control where I turn off the announcers when fans can be back in the stands? Like, that's where I think they could have done and taken this to an advantage. So yeah, similar to what you were saying, I can't stand it. I absolutely can't stand it. Baseball's supposed to be coming back this week. I am praying that they do not put the fan noise. This is an opportunity for us to hear all that chatter, to hear all of that stuff, to hear the back and forth. Give us that intimacy, man. It's bad enough.
Yes, preach it, brother. Preach
It's bad enough we can't watch. We got to watch at home. I don't want to watch at home where there's fake people. I don't want you don't need to trick me, right? I can see there's no one in the seat. It makes it 10 times worse.
It does, man. It just drives me really nuts, the fact that you need the fake sound or whatever for people. And James, to be real with you, it was more of a cop out for these announcers, that you realize that who's actually the really good announcers and who's mediocre, Arlo White. That it's just you just see it overall, and it is what it is. It just frankly is what it is. That it's just, why would you do that? It just, you have a unique situation where this is very unique, and you go ahead and drown it out with some fake noise or whatnot. That's why I really did appreciate the Bundesliga's, even though I said none of the leagues should have came back until the whole darn thing was filtered out. And that's why Leon in France got that right overall. And the Leon president, Alice, he was so pissed that the league decided to shut it down that he went to Emmanuel Macron and was like, Macron, we need to bring it back. It's costing us money.
You gotta do something.
He sure did. Well, James, Eddy, this has been an incredible first episode that thankfully will not get taken down by you or whatnot. So
unless you take it down.
And I plan to not do that whatsoever at all, whatever. So we will close this out and whatnot. Great sir, we appreciate you all the way. You were clutch all the way, James Eddy, because he came up with the title, folks. This is Americans Didn't Create Soccer. As you clearly see, people, we are certainly not two white people doing this or white males doing this overall. We're making sure that we're giving you the full best perspective. And yes, we happen to be both black and very black overall about it and whatnot. But we still love you all, everybody. Thank you for watching. This is the first episode of Americans Didn't Create Soccer. James Eddy, great to have you, sir, because you're going to be right there.
Thank you, Andrew.
And Andrew Jones, signing off to you. Until the next one. Check it out. Peace. And the extra time is on your time. And